You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. You know what time it is.
No charcoal grills are allowed.
I'm white. I got you, bro.
Illegally selling water without a permit
on my property.
Whoa! Hey!
Give us your right.
We don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
So, you know, these Trump people are really losing their mind. Like, losing their mind. Here's this crazy fool out of New York who just can't handle he lost.
Good morning, we the people. Who's ready to go to Washington, D.C. tomorrow? Huh? Who's going? Show of hands. Put it underneath my post. Who's going to Washington, D.C.? Because the media don't get to call a fucking election. We the people voted. We the people get to pick our president. Okay? So this is coming to an end with the fraud and the corruption and everything on the left. Because I told you, I warned you, that a vote for Biden is a vote for Obama. Third term. Did you hear Chuck the fucking schmuck Schumer? Let's change America. That's what you get. That's what all you motherfuckers on the left get for voting. For voting for fucking Biden. Okay? We know he didn't win legally. We know he didn't. We know about the stealing and the corruption and slur of the house. You can keep watching Fox fucking News because we don't watch it no more. Okay? Trump 2020, motherfucker. Fuck out of here because I'm going tomorrow and my voice will be heard and I will be passing out letters.
Julian, these people are a little unhinged. And here's the deal, Julian, I don't want to be driving behind this woman.
I mean, it's a wonder that she was able to keep her car straight. I was cracking up. First of all, she had a filthier mouth than anybody I know. I mean, filthy. And secondly, you know, Chuck Schumer, she has to go there. But the driving part is really rolling. That does take the cake. Who drives with one hand? And who's holding the phone or recording this or something? She's really crazy. But, you know, you said crazy ass white people and you found one.
I'm telling you right now, Kelly, I keep trying to tell these people. Anthony Scaramucci tweeted, Trumpism is over. No, it's not. Trumpism is now the Republican Party. They have melded together. These folk ain't going away. They are nuts.
I would venture to say that Trumpism is actually just beginning because what happens when you have a demagogue or some type of cult leader, their influence isn't necessarily in the moment that they impart their doctrine and their antics. It's really after the fact and when they are basically entered into some form of martyrdom, so to speak. They don't necessarily have to die in order for that to happen. They just have to be out of the immediate spotlight, right? So what's happening right now is the beginning of Trumpism and Trump doctrine, if you will. Has the Republican Party fallen into that? I would venture to say so. If anything, they will be the vehicle to keep perpetuating said Trump doctrine and Trumpisms and the like. So if anything, this lady is actually kind of falling in lockstep with the plan, whether it's proverbial or otherwise, to keep that message going and to keep Trump alive and relevant and viable in the minds of so many other obviously ignorant people.
But what I'm saying, Julian, we have to understand, this is not about Trumpism. Trumpism is the Republican Party. We need to understand these people are not going to go away. They're going to be driving Republican Party politics. So all of these Democrats, Joe Biden always talk about back to normal or, hey, once Trump goes away, Republicans are going to return the way they used to. No, they're not. This is going, if you thought Sarah Palin began the craziness and then Trump then comes in, crazy is about to follow Folks simply better brace for it.
You know, Kelly is right about Trump not going away. What we have to look at, he keeps saying he's going to run in 2024. First of all, he better pray that he's still alive in 2024. But in any case, he says he's going to run. So he's raising money, however, to theoretically challenge Wisconsin. I mean, he's been doing all these challenges. Now, if you look at the fine print of the stuff that he's sending out, these emails, the money is going to him. I mean, it's going to his next campaign. It's not going to count, to go to challenge ballots. So he is basically ginning up his base. And so you saw that crazy lady. There are millions of her. I mean, the challenge is, how did we get 70-some million people who voted for that crazy man? Now, I would say maybe 20 million of them, maybe a couple fewer. Maybe they truly believe in republicanism as opposed to Trumpism, and they're ride or die Republicans. But most of them are unhinged, and we just saw that.
Trust me, you're going to see a lot more of that. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The breaking news is that in the state of Michigan, they have certified the election results a 3-1 vote. A Republican chose not to go along with that particular group, which means that the election in Michigan certified by that board of canvassers. Also, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court knocked down the latest Trump challenge. But not only that, guess who finally decided to do her damn job? Emily Murphy, the head of the GSA. Go to my iPad, please. This was a letter that she has sent to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, as the administrator of the U.S. General Services Administration, I have the ability under the Presidential Transition Act of 1963, as amended, to make certain post-election resources and services available to assist in the event of a presidential transition. She goes on and on and on, blah, 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 blah. To be clear, I did not receive any direction to delay my determination. Yeah, right. I did, however, receive threats online, by phone, and by mail directed at my safety, my family, my staff, even my pets, in an effort to coerce me into making this determination prematurely. Even in the face of thousands of threats, I always remain committed to upholding the law. Whatever. Then she writes, contrary to media reports and insinuations, my decision was not made out of fear or favoritism. Whatever. I strongly believe that the statute requires that the GSA administrator ascertain, not impose, the apparent president-elect. Again, more BS, blah, 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 blah. This does not have to be a 2-page letter. She then says that, of course, they're going to be making available $6.3 million to the Biden transition team. In addition, $1 million is authorized to provide appointee orientation sessions and a transition directory. So all the rest of this stuff is signed by Emily Murphy, whatever the hell. Let's go to my panel here, talk about all the latest developments that's been going on, folks, in this busy day and busy weekend. Dr. Avis Jones, the Weaver political analyst, Mustafa Santiago Ali, PhD, former senior advisor for environmental justice, EPA, and then later we'll have Rena Shaw, the Lincoln Project Women's Coalition. Go to you, Mustafa. You've worked for federal government. First of all, a lot of different things are going on here. Let's first go go to the GSA. Emily Murphy, she ain't fooling nobody. Emily Murphy, bottom line is she was doing Trump's bidding here. They did not want to say that Joe Biden was the president-elect. But after what Michigan did and Pennsylvania, Donald Trump, no options. Sucker, you're gone.
Yeah, I mean, they know what the rules are. They know how they should be moving forward. And there was intentionality in this. Everyone knows it. The intentionality was to, continue to slow down, hopefully run out the clock on the other side and find, some fertile ground for the foolishness that they were trying to move forward with. And, in all the administrations that I worked in, both Democrat and Republican, there was always a peaceful and respectful transition of power, understanding, how difficult it is, all these issues that folks are focusing on, and to make sure that the new incoming administration has the information so that they can, hit the ground running, if you will. So for the GSA to play these games, we know where the direction was coming from, but they were putting people's lives in danger each day that they weren't allowing, the incoming Biden administration to do their job, to be prepared, to help to get the steps in place. So I'm glad that they finally got here, but it took a lot of pressure to make folks just to do the right thing. My grandmother says, when you know better, do better. They knew better. It's a shame that it took them this long to do better.
You got people who talk about, oh, it's the law. No, it's not, Avis. The reality is this here. She was playing games. Joe Biden was a president-elect. Donald Trump couldn't overturn anything. And these were the games they were playing, pure and simple. That's what happened when you're dealing with a narcissistic, petty, let's just go ahead and say it, a man who was 100% bitch-assness.
I couldn't say it better myself. But absolutely, she was part of this whole grand delusion in which has been, I would believe, I would call it a coordinated action, not only involving the president, but a lot of his cronies all around the country, including individuals who may not necessarily be included in any collusion per se and what he's trying to do, which is I would call a coup, an attempted coup. But you also have countless Republicans who have been too cowardice to even call a thing, right? They've been allowing this to continue. And so when she finally comes up and does this, I'm thinking, well, it's about time. But I'm also wondering if it has something to do with the fact that she was supposed to testify on Capitol Hill. And maybe she just wanted to make sure that this thing was right before that happened, because she knew what she was doing was outside the boundaries of what she was supposed to be doing. There was no way she could have justified that in front of elected officials.
Rena, these folks are pure trash. We're seeing it. We're seeing how Trump simply cannot handle losing, can't do it gracefully, never was going to do it. That's just simply how he is. And Republicans have allowed this nonsense to go on for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised because this nonsense has gone on the past 4 years, if you really stretch it, 5. So what I really believe we see here is a political appointee who didn't have the moral courage to do the right thing until push really came to shove. And it's my home base congressman right now, Jerry Connolly, a Democrat here in Virginia, who oversees a committee in which Emily Murphy has to report to. And so I think he put out a great thread for anybody who's interested on Twitter the other day, really explaining what so many Americans don't know, that this is very much a political appointment that she has. She is a Trump loyalist. And as I put out today on Twitter, I said, Trump loyalists need to realize one thing, that they will never get his loyalty in return. That is the bottom line. So maybe some of them are waking up to it, but this was about our country. This was about our process. This was about something so much bigger than Trump. And it's a shame that people really couldn't understand that this is not just unheard of. This does not happen in modern presidential era at all. But the reality is that you put our country in a unique position at which not just our adversaries, but our allies feel like there's pure chaos on the ground. And I don't know if that's part of a long game. Look, I mean, with Trump, it sometimes takes time to be able to see that. I do think there is something of a strategy here he's got in mind that has yet to reveal itself. But I think what I really saw in people like Emily Murphy and Republicans coming to the side of Trump and saying, we shouldn't let Biden have access, they were really, frankly, being hypocrites. They weren't understanding that national security is the one issue that they harp on over and over again. They'll do it right up until January. And that election in Georgia, the Senate election, Republicans love to hammer home national security. Well, how rich of it that they would put our country in such great chaos and put our national security on the line by not allowing Biden to have what he is frankly entitled to.
Yeah, she didn't want to have to go before the courts. Let's talk about, of course, what is taking place, them losing left and right. Now they're trying to attack the folks in Georgia. They have certified their election results there. Michigan has certified their election results. Pennsylvania is on their way. So, look, they got no play here. Then, of course, we saw the Trump people over the weekend fire a crazy, deranged, nutcase attorney, Sidney Powell. Mustafa, these people are sick and demented.
Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani. I'm at a loss for words with these folks because it's like they're operating from another planet. I mean, President Trump has struck out 3 times and more, actually. But I mean, after 3 times, it's really time for you to give it up. You got a life after this. You'll still have people who will follow you and believe, the conspiracy theories and other things that you've been pumping into our country over the last 4 years. So it's just time to move on. You can't continue to lose court case after court case. Sometimes, actually, some of the judges was pissed off that you actually brought some of this stuff in front of them, and they actually explained that to the attorneys that were in charge of the cases, that you're literally wasting the court's time. So, it's time to go. You can go on down the street there to Walmart or wherever, get your bags and go ahead and move on.
That as simple as that. And what you're dealing with, again, you're dealing with sore losers, including some of these trolls run our YouTube account. And it's just real simple. Y'all lost. Suck it up. You lost, Avis.
Yeah, but they're still engaged in shenanigans. They're trying to do yet another recount in Georgia. They are right now in the process of a recount in Wisconsin, but it's not a statewide recount, of course. It's a recount that specifically focuses on the areas like, Milwaukee, where you'll have a disproportionate number of Black people. They're looking to recount just that small area of the state and then have their cronies there that are in essence challenging each and every vote, trying to throw out as many votes as humanly possible. This is really an attempted coup. I just feel like language is very important. We don't need to sort of mask what's going on here. He is trying to take away the vote specifically and disproportionately of Black people all around this country so that he can, quote unquote, win. That is really what he's attempting to do. If he would get anything to go in his favor, that's what would happen. And so I really think that what's going on here shows the importance of being able to strengthen the Voting Rights Act when the Biden-Harris administration gets into office. That needs to be a one top priority. And in order for that to happen, we need the Senate, because we know that a Republican-controlled Senate is not going to let something like that move. And so this is a critically important. I don't think that we've seen our voting rights be attacked so fervently and so boldly since the end of Jim Crow. It is just disgusting to see, and we have to fight back.
And again, they lost. And my whole deal is take this ass whooping like a man, Trump.
He can't do it, Roland. He can't do it at all. Bottom line. I mean, look at who he's got for his legal defense. Rudy Giuliani, who hasn't been in court in some 3 decades? He hasn't fought a case in court in over 3 decades, I believe. Sidney Powell, who was one time respected, I believe, but really showed her true colors of every shade of crazy at that press conference. That was really disheartening. And the only reason she's on the outs with the Trump campaign is because Tucker Carlson called her to the carpet. That's the only reason. So I think what's at the root here, and this is something that I think really deserves a longer conversation as we move along in these next weeks and months. I mean, this is obviously a tough time. This past 3 weeks has been extremely tough for many Americans who watch and who trust our system to feel like blow after blow. Like, how can this guy still have a case? I get a lot of right-wing media in my inbox every day. I get multiple bits of it. I don't just get text messages, I get newsletters. And so I see what they're reading. I mean, my career on the right, I'm still very much a conservative, albeit a small C one, but I see what today's Republicans are reading, and it's scary stuff. These newsletters are more like, really Reddit threads. It's stuff like Alan Dershowitz says that Trump still has 3 pathways outlined in the Constitution to still
I don't give a damn what Alan Dershowitz is a hack who First of all, take your Jeffrey Epstein loving ass on. I can't. I'm so sick of that punk. You know, who's a Trump lackey as well.
Yeah, but these are the people they push forward. As Sidney Powell, Alan Dershowitz, Rudy. These are people who don't have their sense anymore, and they're still revered. They're still in high regard because they've been given a post by Trump to say, "Hey, take this and run." If that doesn't tell the average person how Looney Tunes the whole defense of it is, the fact that he cannot concede, like just truly what is in poor fashion. This is really what it comes down to, is that history books will not treat him kindly. But I see what's happening already. I see this setup. I see how the right-wing media complex is going to play this. They're going to continue to make money off of the clicks that they'll get from the Trump base of supporters saying that Emily Murphy waited until the day that, Michigan said this. And there's still a case out there in Wisconsin, by the way. It's not statewide. Like Ava said, when you read the details, the average person knows there's nothing here. But what they continue to sell to their base is for profit. It's this fake narrative that there's been an election that's stolen, and it's black and brown people that are in the way, and they are the people who are trying to subvert the will of real Americans who love freedom and liberty like you and me. That's the message I get every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Look, lots more of it.
The right-wing media apparatus, Newsmax, OANN, all of these sites, they are going to be pushing this conspiracy stuff for the next 4 years. That's why I need y'all folks to understand why this show matters, why you got to support what we do, because let me be clear, we are going to counter their lies every single step of the way. We're going to be a thorn in their side. We're going to give them hell. When they lie, we're going to call it out. That's why every single time one of these black Republicans comes on this show and they start lying, I shut them down. I love it when they say, why you always interrupt Republicans? I didn't interrupt Rena because she wasn't lying. See, that's why they get mad.
I'm also not a Trumplican, you know that.
No, but what I'm saying is what they don't like, they love to go on these other shows, go on Fox News, go on Newsmax, go on OANN, and go on the rest of it, and they love to lie. And they don't like when somebody has the facts and stops their lying. Well, when you bring your ass on this show, I'm shutting you down with your lies, because we are not going to feed this crap to our audience. We're not going to sit here and allow them to continue the games that they play. And that's exactly what's going on with the games that they play. Folks, pull up my next guest on this particular topic as well, because, again, we're talking about, matter of fact, as we're pulling them up, I saw this video. I've seen it a couple of times. Leslie Jones tweeted this out, and it really speaks just a whole lot to how I feel right now. Y'all, roll it.
I just have one thing to say. Hang on here. You about to lose that job. You about to lose that job. Do this thing. You about to lose that job. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. 'Cause you are taking me for nothing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose your job. Get this thing. You about to lose.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Republican efforts to steal the election continues. First, Michigan certifies the results for Joe Biden. Pennsylvania Supreme Court says, hell no, Donald Trump. Your legal arguments are nonsense. But in Georgia, where we have two critical runoff races featuring Pastor Raphael Warnock against Kelly Loeffler and then John Ossoff versus David Perdue, Republicans are doing their best to try to steal that election by purging people who just voted in November. Yeah, that's actually happening before us. Already, 750,000 absentee ballots have been requested in Georgia. Let's get right to this thing with investigative journalist Greg Palast. Greg, the latest effort. So explain to people what's going on now, how Republicans are trying to first purge people. We are seeing the reports who just voted. I mean, 3 weeks ago, but now they're trying to stop people by saying, oh, you need to have a car registered in Georgia to vote in the runoff?
I know, it sounds insane, and I hope the wonderful Cliff Albright, I do work with Black Voters Matter Fund in Georgia. He may not know this yet, but Cliff and Roland, this is the strangest thing. My team down there at midnight on Saturday, gets a notice from the Secretary of State of Georgia, a guy named Brad Raffensperger. His name really is Perger. He took Brian Kemp's place. He's a Republican, frankly, a Republican stooge. And he issued a new ruling, a proposed rule, that would say that you can't register if you don't have a car registered in Georgia and you've proven that you've paid the registration tax on the car. Now, let me be very careful here and how this works. Now, obviously, no state can require you to buy a car to vote. That would be
that's
the
a poll tax.
Poll tax. That would be the most expensive poll tax in world history. What they are saying is rather they will use the fact that any county election supervisor can use the fact that you don't have a car or you haven't paid the Georgia registration tax as proof that you're not a Georgian, that you don't live in Georgia. And they can therefore, listen to this, they will delay adding your registration to the voter records. By the way, December 7th is the last day to register there. They'll delay your registration until you get a hearing. A hearing. Now, usually you have to have 30 days notice on hearings, and therefore, most people who attempt to register who don't have a car may find that they are told that they have to show up at a hearing in 30 days, which will likely be after the January 5 election.
Okay, I'm confused here. I'm really confused here. So what happens with a person who doesn't own a car? I mean,
they withhold you. They take your registration, but they don't add your name to the list.
Is there a single state in America that requires you to register a car to vote?
No, and in fact, this is not the first time that the state of Georgia has tried this gambit. I can tell you one voter that got hit by this a couple years ago, my daughter, who was a voter in Savannah. And now understand, it doesn't mean you can't vote. What they might try to do is say that not having a car registered in Georgia means that you don't live here. What the Secretary of State office is claiming is that this is to stop people fraudulently registering in Georgia because of the hot Senate race. This will determine control of the U.S. Senate. So they're afraid. They say they're afraid of people coming into Georgia and simply registering for this runoff. Well, number one, if you are moving to Georgia, you can register for this runoff. But our person Terry Manpearl on the ground there was on the call with the Secretary of State and asked, do you have a single case, even one, of a fraudulent voter, someone from out of state voting in the Georgia election in November? Do you have a case of a single voter? Remember, a lot of people have already mailed in their ballots. Do you have a case of a single voter who's mailed in a ballot that isn't a Georgia resident? an absentee ballot. Now, is there one case? So you're going to stop thousands of. Now, who gets affected by this law? Again, they don't stop you from registering. They just withhold your registration, possibly till after the election. And by the way, with Cliff, I have no doubt we're going to be fighting this. Believe me, we're going to be fighting this. So what they're saying is that now who's affected? Students, like my daughter, she didn't have a car in Georgia. She has a New York driver's license because on vacations she would drive in New York. So they try to block her from voting. She went through the process and saved her vote in Savannah. But how many, like she said, there's almost no students who are willing to fight this and get registered. In addition, of course, who's the biggest group that's affected? People who don't have cars, urban, low-income voters. In other words, voters of color. And by the way, the color is generally blue. So they know if they can knock out voters trying to register in Atlanta, new voters, people, remember, they, like you just said, they purge voters, so you have to re-register. We have a site, Save My Vote, 2020.org, where you can see if you've been purged from the Georgia voter rolls. If you are, there's a button, click and re-register. Again, try to do it immediately. Don't wait till December 7th because Georgia, there is a delay factor in Georgia. Even if you have a car, they still have a delay process in Georgia. So please check your registration right now, no matter what, and re-register. Believe me, and by the way, if you don't have a car registered in Georgia and you live there and you're a student or you're low income, you use a bus, or you're high income and you use a bus, you don't have a car.
Right.
Don't let that stop you from registering. Please register. Have all the ID and proof of residence that you can to make sure that no one challenges you, because it's also selective. They're making it so that not everyone, in other words, not necessarily white suburban people, are going to be asked, oh, you don't have a car?
Right.
Because after all, you have families where the car is registered in the husband's name, not the wife's name, or the opposite. So it's very selective because they get to choose whom they challenge. This is really, really dangerous stuff. And when we so again, midnight Saturday, and then they had a meeting to vote it into the rules at 8 a.m. this morning, Monday, 8 a.m. And after a midnight notice. This is ugly stuff. So what they did was when the pressure came down, they said, oh, we're not going to make it a rule. We'll make it a guidance.
Nah. When you make it a guidance, that's a rule. And so, but this is what I keep telling people, the kind of games Republicans play. And guess what? The people who I've been calling out, these black Republicans in Georgia who have been silent, who are watching these people try to screw black people voting.
Yes, I'm very concerned. Look, we know it's Jim Crow. You can talk about, oh, the fraudulent voters. Where are these fraudulent voters lined up at the border to march into Georgia to vote? Okay? As Cliff can tell you, working there, it's hard to get people to vote once, let alone twice. It's hard, no, people aren't driving in from Wisconsin to vote in Georgia.
Yep.
It's not happening. They're not sending in fraudulent ballots. They had 5 million ballots. They couldn't show us one fraudulent ballot, not one. But I can tell you that they've disqualified a lot of ballots. And of course, we issued the report, which was issued with Black Voters Matter Fund.
Got it.
And on 198,000 Georgians removed wrongly from the voter rolls based on a phony purge list.
Got it.
This is really serious stuff. And by the way, watch this space. We're going to be taking action. I don't want to say what it is, but believe me, we're not letting this thing go. We're not letting this thing go. This is pure Jim Crow. I don't care who you vote for, but don't tell black people, don't tell students you can't vote. No.
All right.
That's over.
Greg Palast, keep us up to date what's going on. We'll keep pushing the information out and supporting you in all that you do.
See you at gregpalast.com.
Thank you very much, sir. Back to that Roadblock Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals lost their top pick, Joe Burrow, to a just horrifying knee injury on Sunday. Many folks said, Bengals, you might want to call this guy. Colin Kaepernick hasn't played in the NFL since 2016. But he sent a reminder, folks, roll a video, please. But he sent a reminder to all 32 teams that he's ready to play. This was the video that he tweeted out, his workout on Monday, saying 1,363 days of being denied employment, still putting in work with Eric Reid. Still, come on, y'all, let's go. Thank you. Still going hard, 5 days a week. Hashtag still ready. And of course, Eric Reid, he played with him in San Francisco. Keep playing the video, please. Thank you. He played with him in San Francisco. Reid later went on to play for the Carolina Panthers when he was released. No team has picked him up, even though he had, frankly, a career year. Some say that's because he had joined Colin Kaepernick and being very aggressive and criticizing the NFL. Joining me now to talk about this is Jamal Murphy, executive producer and co-host of Roten on Sports podcast. Jamal, glad to have you here. You do the podcast with Bill Roten. Look, I think it's abundantly clear. The NFL, we have seen some sorry quarterbacks sign in the NFL, backup quarterbacks who have no business playing. You look at what you saw out of Dallas when they lost Dak Prescott. Then, of course, they lost the backup quarterback as well, Andy Dalton, to a concussion. They put a guy in who couldn't even throw the ball downfield. I mean, the NFL is full of crap. What people have to understand is this is the 32 owners. They are the ones who run the NFL. They control the NFL. And the reality is, look, you can hang it up. Colin Kaepernick, unless a miracle happens, will never see an NFL football again.
No, I totally agree with that. That time has come and passed. Anybody who thought that Kaepernick would get another chance, that's not going to happen. If it were going to happen, it would have happened already. I've always said that the smartest thing the NFL could have done early on in the process would have been to sign Kaepernick, and they could have avoided, all this controversy, and they could have come out looking like they actually cared, like they pretend to. But yeah, the time, thinking that that NFL is going to switch up, their thought process and sign Kaepernick at this point, it's not going to happen. In fact, I think you touched on the bigger issue. The real issue is Eric Reid, who, like you said, had a career year last year, is only 28. A great safety in the league. And because he stood up for Colin Kaepernick and spoke his truth and Kaepernick's truth, he, as Kaepernick, is also being blackballed. So it's like, in effect, they're doing it again right in our face.
No, I use whiteballed instead of blackball. Okay. That's what I use to describe this. And again, that's what you're seeing. And look, as far as the NFL, unless they pay a price, unless people get far more aggressive in saying thanks but no thanks, they're just going to move along that whole deal with, Jay-Z and also giving money to the Players Coalition. Nah, chump change. What they're saying is we're going to make an example out of Colin Kaepernick, out of Jason Reid. Basically, y'all didn't say Toby. You kept saying Kunta. Fine, you're going to stay that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. But I do appreciate what Kaepernick is doing because I think he knows this also. He knows that he has basically no chance of any NFL team really signing him, but he is keeping the issue alive. And I always say we should hashtag never forget what the NFL did to Kaepernick and what they're doing to Reid, because it's going to be a forever stain on the NFL. So I appreciate Kaepernick every chance he gets. putting a video out saying, I'm still in shape, I still can play. We know it's not about talent at this point. When you have people like you mentioned, you have Joe Flacco playing for the Jets, you have Ryan Finley in Cincinnati, whoever the Jacksonville quarterback is, I don't even know. You got Drew Lock in Denver, Nick Foles and Trubisky in Chicago, Nick Mullins in San Francisco. These people are not even close to what Kaepernick was. And I didn't even mention Alex Smith, who he beat out already, who now is starting for the Washington football team. So, no, I agree wholeheartedly with everything you're saying.
And I think it is important, I think, for him to keep doing this and to keep putting this out there because, I mean, look, Tom Brady is in his 40s and he's still playing. And so guess what? I say this as far as Colin Kaepernick, keep putting them out there and make them have to deal with this every single year until you physically can't play again.
Yeah, maybe even beyond that. Maybe even make a mockery of them, even when you're in your late 40s. Keep doing it because, I just commend them for consistently embarrassing the league because it's worth embarrassment. And again, they're doing it again to Eric Reid, and no one's really even talking about it. Okay, this like I said, a 28-year-old in the prime of his career had a great year last year because he knelt with Kaepernick and continued to speak out against the league. They obviously whatever backlash they got for doing this to Kaepernick, for whiteballing Kaepernick, doesn't matter. It's all lip service because they did it again to Eric Reid.
All right, then. Jamal Murphy, executive producer and co-host of Roten on Sports podcast. Man, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right. Folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, one of the things that we do want to talk about now deals with Biden and what their plans are, and that has to do with various nominations. He's nominated longtime diplomat Linda Thomas Greenfield as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. During the Obama administration, Thomas Greenfield served as the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, and from 2008 to 2012, she served as the U.S. Ambassador to Liberia. Thomas Greenfield was born in Baker, Louisiana in the early 1950s, where she attended segregated schools. She said growing up, the KKK would visit her town and burn a cross in someone's yard every weekend. She's also encountered racism during her years attending Louisiana State University, where David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK, was also a student there at the time. Now, shortly after the announcement was made, Thomas Greenfield tweeted, "My mother taught me to lead with the power of kindness and compassion to make the world a better place. I've carried that lesson with me throughout my career in foreign service, and if confirmed, will do the same as ambassador to the United Nations." Thomas Greenfield is just one of several black women who have either been nominated or appointed to positions within the Biden administration. Now, one of those also will be working in legislative affairs. We're going to show her, get her name and photo in just a second. But the question is, are black women expecting more? Melanie Campbell, she's Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, also with the Black Women's Roundtable. Melanie, I've been hearing grumblings from sisters who are not happy so far with this initial rollout from the Biden campaign. Now, cabinet positions are totally separate from staff positions. And when you look at, he made the announcement, Cedric Richmond, Congressman Cedric Richmond, Office of Public Engagement. He's named some of his deputy chiefs of staff, his chief of staff, also the folks who are going to be over the legislative affairs, the political office. One sister who's a deputy, but folks are saying we better see a lot more sisters in this White House. Just your thoughts.
We do have that expectation. I would say that I think Cedric Richmond, Congressman Richmond, is definitely someone who has a lived experience. That he brings not just his legislative experience, but he brings lived experience as an African American. I think that's a great choice, as well as Linda Thomas Greenfield, both Louisiana, by the way. So some Southerners. So I think that's a really good thing. But every woman Black woman I've spoken with, including myself, we do have expectations. We are working to the Black Women's Roundtable to submit recommendations. I know that you have Power Rising and Joint Center for Political Economic Studies, Win with Black Women, and other organizations that are making recommendations to the administration. And so we will continue to do that. And as we know, they made those announcements for these national security positions. There are 15 statutory positions. We do know for sure that we have one vice president in Senator Kamala Harris, who is a part of as well as the cabinet. But yes, we have expectations to see more.
One of the folks we're also talking about, go to my iPad, please, Shawanza Goff. She was named Deputy Director of the White House Office of Legislative Affairs. She, of course, served as the floor director for the House under Majority Leader Steny Hoyer. She was the first Black woman to hold that position. She determined which bills came to the House floor, also set the legislative schedule, and helped craft the overall House Democratic agenda. She is from Virginia, is a graduate of the University of Tennessee and American University. And again, that's one of those positions as well that folks are looking at. But again, look, when you start talking about deputies, folks are like, okay, we get that. But again, what I'm hearing from sisters is that, hey, we want to see people who are running departments. And so we're going to be waiting to hear.
Right. I think, really looking for cabinet positions. We know, at least understanding, following it, I'm not in the room. I'm not in the transition team room, Biden-Harris transition team, but just our understanding of the Congresswoman Marsha Fudge is a name that's been floating around to be the Secretary of Agriculture. I participated in a letter that we did submit to the Biden-Harris with a recommendation from 24 primarily Black women-led organizations collectively, but also individually organizations are submitting those names. So the key is to we know what Black women did. We know the role we played. And so we are stepping boldly into, asking for what we want. Can't make Vice President-elect do anything, but I think he recognizes that the Black community, Black women and Black men, helped get him in there. But he knows that Black women gave 90% of our vote. And we were clear about we want to see ourselves in this administration. We have the VP elect for sure. And also there are several other positions that I believe that we should see more. And many Black women that I know that I work with through the Black Women's Roundtable and other organizations have those expectations. So the process has started. It's not over. And we're going to continue to engage. As I stated before, many of our organizations are putting in recommendations. And so we have high expectations to see more.
And the thing here is because this is what we are going to be looking for here, Melanie. We're looking to see African Americans all throughout the administration. And so what people have to understand is that you have what I call really three levels. You have cabinet positions. And yes, what you saw, national security apparatus, we get that, Secretary of State, United Nations, those positions. Then you get your cabinet position, but then you get to your staff positions that are actually within the White House. So John Kerry was named, the czar when it comes to climate. When you talk about who heads the personnel office, who heads the Office of Management and Budget, there's an African-American male who's rumored to get that, who head White House Council of Economic Advisors. But Below that, though, is what we also begin to look at is when you talk about the cabinets, who's the number 2? Who's the chief of staff? Those positions as well, because that's what the reality is what people don't understand about how federal government works. The actual power in cabinet positions is really the number 2. Because the number 2 actually really runs the agency, and so we're looking at what we're looking for is not just a couple of high-profile big positions, but the big positions, the next level, and then that level below and level below.
Right. And Roland, there's 4,000 plus positions that need to be filled. This current administration did not bode well for a functioning federal government. There are so many positions they didn't fill or they put in people temporarily. There is a rebuilding. So when President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris say, build back better, right? There's a whole lot of building back that has to be done. And for someone who, I didn't work in federal government, but I was appointee for, a local mayor, Maynard Jackson, and understand there are so many positions that have to be filled. And if we're talking about for the long term, then those are succession planning opportunities so that folks are in position because they would get the experience. So what I recommend for folks to do, go on that Biden-Harris transition team website, find out what's going on with it, connect with folks and get your see if there's a position that you may be qualified for. There are so many regional offices that are based all across the country. Not all the jobs are in Washington, D.C. They're right there in your local community. The federal government is in your local community. Your Social Security office is in your local community. And so there are a lot of positions. Of course, a lot of those are not necessarily appointee positions, but there are so many jobs. And even those what you call permanent jobs that are in the government were not filled. So there's a lot of opportunity, I believe, in the federal government, and folks should look at that as a public service opportunity and employment opportunity.
All right, then, Melody Campbell, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Avis Jones-DeWeaver, I want to start with you. Also, people don't realize when we talk about these positions, we're also thinking about what happens when they leave the White House. Because what happens is these are the people who get hired in corporate America. These are people who get hired on K Street, who then are able to hire other people. And so when you're a senior level person in the White House, there are senior level positions that are available to you once you leave. If black folks are only in the lower level or the junior positions, then you don't get the senior level positions. And now we're talking about larger jobs, stock options. I mean, all these other different things that go along with being a major executive in the administration.
Absolutely. So, what happens with where you are in the White House, you're exactly right, not only impacts what you can do to make sure that the focus is encompassing the concerns of our community, which is very important. But as you mentioned, there are sort of reverberating effects that happens in terms of the power that you have access to once that particular administration is over. And so when we don't find Black people in leadership in administrations, then it has these reverberating effects such that after that administration is over, the spoils and others don't include us, and therefore can't trickle down to more of us. It is a sad thing. I feel like Issa Rae. I'm rooting for everybody Black, okay? We need to have more Black people that are appointed specifically at cabinet level positions, number one, and also throughout this administration in senior level positions so that we can make sure that we are seen on issues that impact our community, which quite frankly is every issue, and our specific slant is considered, but also such that those people have futures coming out of that administration, because even the best case scenario, they'll just be there 8 years, right? That could have major impacts on the rest of the community.
Mustafa, I love these idiots who love commenting, such as Stefan Boykin on YouTube. So let me get this straight. Does being a Black woman or Black in general the only qualifier for the best nominee for these positions? Just food for thought. But you don't say that about the white folks who have been appointed. See, Mustafa, here's the deal. The reason we talk about this here, because the reason we don't use a dumbass qualifier qualified is because we already assume the people who are being considered are qualified. So it's stupid, Stefan, to say, well, how do you know they're actually being qualified? Because if you ain't qualified, you're not on the list. This ain't the Trump folk who were picked for positions. This is a different administration picking people. So we automatically assume those who are being considered are qualified. But whenever white folks are being named, no one brings up qualified as part of the conversation.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, they always try and throw these additional hurdles on people. I've seen it for decades now. And, you know, there's a strong vetting process. So as was shared, 4,000 political appointees, 1,200 of them actually have to go through Senate confirmation, you know, depending on what the job is. And folks are all qualified. You know, the problem has always been that even though Black folks were qualified, they weren't getting the opportunities. And if they did get those opportunities, our policy would look markedly different than it has over the years, because you have someone who has both that book knowledge, but they also understand the impacts that are happening on the ground. And our government is supposed to be representative of the people. And what that means is that it actually has to really support, it really has to understand, it has to be able to move those resources to the places in a way that actually matter. And I'll just leave on this last point. You know, when you have one of these positions, in some instances, you are in charge of millions of dollars, sometimes billions of dollars. So we can make sure that those resources, those tax dollars, are actually finally making it to the communities that need them the most, and also that they're actually being formulated in a way that actually is transformative if we truly embrace, you know, all these various folks that have so many amazing skills.
And Rena, look, as Mustafa said, this is power. This is in control of billions of dollars in federal resources. And so who sits in those positions also helps determine regulations. It helps determine lots of different things. And so it matters who sits in these positions.
Yeah, and our country is what it is today because of the people that have sat in the positions before now. Anything we are experiencing now from the federal government, whatever we feel isn't addressed properly, look at the people making the decisions. And this is why back in 2017, I set out and I created an organization to help support more women run for political office as well as be considered for political appointments. And that was really in line with what I've been seeing to be a problem ever since I left Capitol Hill back in 2011, is that there are just not enough people in the ranks of U.S. government, whether you're looking even in the state houses, state to state. You see such a dearth of truly a reflective democracy. We don't have that, and we need it in the positions of power. And so people often think it's the member of Congress that makes the decisions, but like you said earlier, it's the number twos often in the offices. And so when I learned recently of an organization called Inclusive America, it's a nonprofit organization. I had a call with their founder. He told me, he said, I was there in the executive branch, and he was there during Obama's time. He said, I looked around and I looked at the people making the decisions, and these are older white men largely. And this is a white man telling me this. And so he helped start this organization really on that pledge for diversity bent. And that is a really important thing. When people who are not people of color, not part of the BIPOC community, really can see that and start to be allies, that's what we need. Because right now, one really alarming stat I learned from them is that only 17.4% of senior ranked executive positions in our government are staffed by minorities.
There you go.
Now, that tells you everything you need to know. And it's perfect. It's a layup for your argument earlier. The government should reflect the American people at senior levels, not just junior or mid-level ones. We need them in senior roles. And so part of the work, I think, of these great nonprofit organizations across the country that are sort of waking and taking the call on really what needs to change for our government to really look more like the country and perhaps avoid what we saw these past few years. I was really encouraged when I saw Biden's list of first unveiling of people he was nominating to be part of his administration. And I didn't see a single last name Biden.
Got it.
I mean, that's such a change already, but that should not be the bar. That is too low of a bar. We need to swing the pendulum back. And I fully believe this administration administration will really answer that call, because look at what they did with their COVID task force already. The co-chair there is a brilliant doctor, Nunez Matthews, I believe is her name, and just incredible appointments already. So we should feel encouraged. And yes, we always want the most qualified person, but look, if they're on the short list, let's advocate for them.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. As part of California's efforts to crack down on white supremacist groups, 102 people now face charges as part of an investigation by state and federal authorities. According to ABC 30, the investigation, dubbed Operation Lucky Charm, initially targeted both the Fresno-based street gang, the Fresnex, and the prison-based Aryan Brotherhood. Authorities on both the federal and local level took part in the 11-month investigation, with the primary focus being on cutting off lines of distribution for drugs and guns. $136,000 in cash, 90 pounds of meth, 47 guns, and 6 pounds of heroin were confiscated by authorities. This is a huge issue, Kelly, because, of course, the FBI has talked about the greatest threat to the country, white domestic terrorists, ignored in many ways by the Donald Trump administration, now is going to get a serious look by the Biden administration. I expect a totally different DOJ and FBI effort when it comes to white supremacists.
I do too, because it has been blatantly obvious, certainly in the last 4 years, that white domestic terrorism is a real threat to national security. And by the list of things that they had, that the federal government seized from these respective organizations, just 2 of them or 1 of them, I couldn't hear all of it, but just by the few that you mentioned, that's a lot of contraband. That is a lot of potential violence that could have been on the street as a result of that contraband. And it feels like, at least now, that white terrorist organizations aren't held accountable just because they're white. They are the ones who are on this land now, not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban. Them, Aryan, neo-Nazi, Ku Klux Klan, all of them. They're here in this country, maybe next door to you, some of their members. And no one really takes that into consideration when you're talking about threats to national security. So it is definitely my hope that the Biden administration and administrations after really take a hard look at what's going on in this country regarding those organizations and put an end to the terrorism, because that's exactly what it is.
Well, this is why it matters, Michael, who is going to be in, who is president, because that sets the policies when it comes to the Department of Justice. And if the FBI has made clear that white domestic terrorists are going to be a problem in the future, you damn well better have a Department of Justice and an FBI, a DEA, and others who are targeting them, because that has a direct impact on the lives of black people.
Absolutely, and Attorney Generals Barr and Sessions both ignored those reports about what white supremacist groups and racist groups like the Ku Klux Klan, as Kelly mentioned, she did the whole list, and they just totally ignored it. The Justice Department didn't do anything, no sanctions, no investigations, nothing, even though the FBI wanted to do more work related to them, but they were not allowed. So now hopefully this new Justice Department will say, you know what, we are going to take a stronger look because they're the ones causing the havoc. They're the ones causing the confusion. They're the ones causing the chaos. And so hopefully we'll have a Justice Department that'll come down on these white supremacist groups.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Kristen Clark, Lawrence Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. She joins us right now. Kristen, y'all have been battling in the courts with these crazy Trump people. They have been losing case after case after case. I mean, he's now lost Pennsylvania at least half a dozen times, same with Michigan. And so now this last ditch effort with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, even they said, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, so 36 cases to date brought by President Trump or his allies, and they've failed in virtually every single one. 1 or 2 cases may have resulted in the discounting of a couple hundred ballots, but this game is just about over. Here's what's happened. The GSA is providing transition support to the administration. Here's what's happening. Michigan has, the State Board of Canvassers has now certified the election results. We prevailed in Pennsylvania over the weekend, and they're making a desperate attempt by asking the Third Circuit, the appellate court, to block certification of results in Pennsylvania, which I think is highly unlikely given how poorly this case was pled and handled. No evidence whatsoever to support the relief that President Trump was seeking here, which was the rejection of millions of ballots. And, it's interesting. I just got, Roland, a few minutes ago, a copy of the temporary restraining order. They're moving for emergency relief from the Third Circuit. Giuliani doesn't appear on the papers. President Trump literally put forth his lawyer, Rudolph Giuliani, in court last week, parading around and making arguments for the first time in a courtroom for decades, and his name doesn't show up on the pleading offered this evening. It's been a sham from the beginning, and I do think that the door is closing in, and we're moving closer and closer to the point of putting the nail on the coffin of this fiasco.
Well, and the things, Christian, that's a trip here is when you look at the nonsense that they're involved in, they won't go to court and lie. So they lie in news conferences because they know exactly what's going to happen in court when they lie before a judge.
Exactly. I mean, the judge in Pennsylvania is a Federalist Society member, right? I just want to underscore that. This case was so ridiculous. No evidence, no proof, no evidence, and asking a federal judge to reject and disenfranchise millions of voters across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When the ink is dry, I think that the history books will show that President Trump is our nation's first president, most certainly in modern time, but maybe ever. But this is the first president to literally use the White House to launch a mass disenfranchisement scheme after an election. I can't think of another president in our nation's history who has taken such an extraordinary effort to disenfranchise not just Americans, but Black Americans and voters of color in particular.
So what's the next legal front? So, I mean, look, these idiots probably be so stupid, they'll try to go to the Supreme Court.
They will. I think that this is a move of desperation. I think any further legal maneuvering by President Trump and his lawyers, whoever those lawyers are at any given point of the day, will fail. I think any continued effort to ask a court to disenfranchise millions of Americans is a sign of desperation. And I do think that the dust is settling here and that very soon we'll be moving forward and doing just what you say. Giving them hell and really doing the hard work to restore and rebuild a country that has just been decimated over the past 4 years by an administration that has rolled back civil rights and suppressed voting rights at every turn. We've got a lot of hard work to do in the road ahead.
Well, y'all have been certainly on the front lines battling this in the courts. Let folks know how they can help the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law continue to do their work.
I appreciate that, Roland. Yeah, we've gotten involved in at least 10 of the 36 cases that have been filed, and we're doing this to stand up for Black voters. And you can support our cause by visiting our website, www.lawyerscommittee.org, And Roland, we are here to make sure that people have the support they need to vote in those Georgia runoff elections and other runoff elections happening in Louisiana and elsewhere. You can call 866-OUR-VOTE, 866-OUR-VOTE to get help that you need to make sure your voice is heard in these important runoff elections that are happening as well.
Absolutely. All right, Kristen Clark, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks. So back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. But just so y'all understand what y'all dealing with, why I keep telling y'all, don't let this woman back near any black church after this nonsense. This is the crap that she said Sunday before last.
Christ-likeness is not found in my gender. It is not found in my culture. It is not found in my ethnicity. It is not found in KKK. It is not found in Antifa. And it is not found in Black Lives Matter, all which are anti-Christ and even terrorist organizations. Christ-likeness is not.
Now we are revealing ourselves here because now she's saying Cliff Albright, founder of Black Voters Matter, co-founder, that she's saying is that Black Lives Matter, terrorist organizations, anti-Christ. Oh, really? That's how we gonna play Paula White? Gotcha.
Yeah, Roland. I just, I want to join you in thanking her when she was calling on those angels from Africa and from South America. She really did us a favor because that's exactly who it is. It turned out to decide this election. Black folks in those key states, as well as those South American angels in places like Arizona and New Mexico. So we really want to thank Paula for calling on the right angels. I don't know what she thought they was going to do when they got here, but evidently it didn't go her way. But she was right. I hear the sound of victory.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have, you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it. Please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Just so y'all understand how crazy, deranged, and sick in the head these Trump supporters are, these white conservative evangelicals, all right? Let me play you. Jamal Bryant posted this video on his page this weekend. And if you want to see how stupid these folks are, watch this.
I saw this picture of the people in the ballots. And what my eye was drawn to was the tables. The tables. And what the Lord started to talk to me about was He went through and He overturned the tables. What are on those tables? Ballots. Ballots. And what I could see was He was walking up and down those aisles. And He started turning over the tables. The tables are being turned over. Those tables are being turned over. The tables are being turned over. And He came to a table and He turned it over. Glory to the Lord. Glory to God. Enough! Enough!
Enough! Guess what, y'all? Daniel! Come on. Sorry. God did not overturn the results in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Nevada. Y'all lost. The crazy thing, Rena, is these white conservative evangelicals are playing to the sheer ignorance of their supporters. And these fools were literally sitting in church thinking, yeah, God is going to go in and just turn the tables and God is going to reverse the ballots. Oh, yeah, that's going to happen. Has it dawned on them that maybe God was in the voting booth on November 3rd? See, and these people are so nuts. They fall for this silliness.
I tell you when it will dawn on them. It's January 20th, 2021. That's the day they're going to realize that that prophecy was not fulfilled. And look, nothing surprises me anymore. I think 5 years of fighting up against this orange person in the White House. I mean, he's a ridiculous man. The supporters that defend him to this moment, I hear the most nonsensical, illogical arguments for why he deserved a second term. Nothing that makes sense. Nothing at all. Nothing rooted in sort of, okay, well, look, it was purely the economy, and that's what I'm voting about. It's truly a lot of the chosen one type of language. And that's the only way you can square it all up. How else did evangelicals get comfortable with voting for a man who's now on his third marriage, has kids by 3 different women, 2 of them immigrants? I mean, if this was somebody with melanin in their skin, they would be absolutely eviscerated. The fact that they have defended this guy, it's because they believe him to be the chosen one. And so therefore we should not really be that surprised that it's made it this far with pastors screaming these type of honestly obscenities. I mean, that is ridiculous to look at just a little bit of video footage there, but people have consumed themselves in this stuff. They've had to hang on to something for 4 years. And another something that I have heard very reasonable Republicans, and I've been on this show in the past talking about the factions of Republicans in the past, Mid-Atlantic, Southern, Western, they all used to be very distinct once upon a time, not in the era of Trump. I've heard white, very, very wealthy Republicans, longtime, very moderate types say to me, Biden crime family. They use those words. It is as if they're told, I mean, it's shocking. I have to grip myself for a second because it's as if they're told that all Democrats are criminals and they're all coming to loot the country by taking over the Oval Office. Well, hey, that's what your guy just did for the past 4 years. How did you miss it? I don't know.
Looks like, Avis, this video from Paula White didn't work.
And strike 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 until you have victory. For every enemy that is aligned against you, let there be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. The Lord says it is done. For I hear victory, 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 victory in the corridors of heaven. In the corridors of heaven, victory, 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 victory. For angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now. They're coming here. They're coming here. In the name of Jesus. From South America. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. They're coming here. From Africa. From South America. Angelic forces. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Angelic reinforcement. Pika hata anda ata. Ora bata rata ande eke eke manda rasata. For I hear the sound of victory. 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 I hear the sound of victory.
Biden, Harris, Biden, Harris, Biden, Harris, Biden, Harris, Biden, Harris, Biden, Harris. That's the sound of victory. 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 Paula White, Biden, Harris, thanks for your prayers. Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.